My name is Alex Christie, and today I'm going to be walking you through a potentially very winded 75-minute rocket flow. That was Luna there, she will be nearby. So what you will need for today's class are blocks, or if you're me, I have one block is actually enough. And I would also have a strap, or if you have a long sleeve sweater or shirt. If you don't have a strap, that's what you can use. You can also use like a booty band or anything like that would be useful. Okay, we're going to start today's class in a seated position. So take a minute here to get comfortable on the mat. Okay, so we sit up with a nice straight spine, but we are just seated, trying to get centered in our body, so not too much effort yet here. So we're not, tensely sitting upright. Bring the shoulders back and down. You can bring the hands to the knees and gently close the eyes, maybe tuck the chin. You can bring a light stretch to the back of the neck. Okay, so here I invite you to take a few deep breaths into the back of the body. Okay, so we leave the shoulder, try to breathe without the shoulders. Okay, so sometimes I hold mine down. They like to be involved in the breathing process, and that's okay. But if we can relax the shoulders, we can bring the breath deeper into the back body using the diaphragm and the intercostals a little bit more. So let's try that. And if you're used to breathing with your collarbones and your shoulders, that's okay. It's harder to breathe deeper if you're used to this pattern of breathing. And so in our yoga practice, we can work on that. Right? We can work on our breathing throughout our whole practice. Good. From here, we can bring the chin in towards the chest. You're going to feel a light stretch at the back of the neck, nothing too intense. We don't really need to stretch this part. Usually in most people it's overstretched. We're going to bring the chin over to the shoulder. Really gentle side stretch here. Inhale, center, exhale, left side. Okay, we can bring our right hand down to the floor. Inhale, lift the left arm up. Try to bring the ribs down towards the pelvis so the stretch is not in the QL but up here in the intercostals. Just the muscles along your rib cage. If these muscles are weak and not involved in the breathing, that's when we can often turn to our shoulders, our neck, and this upper part to breathe. What we want to do is make the diaphragm and intercostals strong in our breathing practice. Stretch to the other side. Don't worry too much about where the hand goes. I want you to focus on this part of the body. So you'll notice if you go into a back bend, it goes to a different part of the body. So try to bring the pelvis behind you in space. Bring the ribs into the closer to the hips. Good. We can come back to center here and maybe come forward a little. Any amount is good. And we're going to start our practice today in a cat-cow shape. So going to tabletop. We're going to warm up the wrists. We're going to be doing a lot of vinyasas today, and let's get the wrists a little bit warmed up. So we're going to start with clockwise circles. Let's do 5. Inhale forward and then exhale back. Try to lead the movement with the hips rather than the head. Okay, so keep the gaze down. Good, and instead of just moving like arbitrarily, let's go counterclockwise. I want you to push the floor away as you come forward. So we're activating the forearms. If we activate the fingers, the forearms, and the hands, we can help take some of the work away from the wrists. Good. From here, we can take the hands to the side, fingers pointing out, or if you feel, we haven't done a lot of warming up. If you feel like the fingers can face the knees, you can do this. You can do static, just bending into the elbows, trying to get into the wrists there, or you can move. Okay, start small. Okay, if you have a habit of hyperextending, that's actually okay. If you feel that you need support in your hyperextender, then you can always bend into the elbows, and this goes for almost any posture. Okay, so just finding the breathing here. Good. Okay, let's sit back onto the toes, hands out in front of you. We're just gonna do some of these. So starring out the hands, making a fist, 7, 8, good, 9, and 10. Beautiful. Last thing we're gonna do before we start our practice is we're gonna take our hands and our forearms together, roll the shoulders back and down, and we're gonna do just 10 pulses here, just starting to prepare the shoulders for what's to come. So here you wanna move the pelvis back in space so your belly is slightly tucked, not too intense, not like this either. More neutral than anything else, okay? So we don't want this to be separated. We're gonna bring this together, and let's go for 10 lifts. 1, 2, go as high as you can, 3, and 4, 5, good. You should feel kind of a fire in the arms now and the shoulders. 8, 9, I know it doesn't look like much, but sure it does work. It really activates the shoulders. Let's do 2 more for 12. Okay, and let's just come to a standing position at the top of our mat. Okay. So feet positioned in Samasthiti. We can stand hip width apart. We can stand with our toes together and our heels apart, and we can glue the whole thing together. Do whatever makes you feel more stable. It depends on your own hip alignment and where your balance is at these days. So standing in your Samasthiti, we're going to move through one sun salutation A. I will walk you through some vinyasa options afterwards. So inhale, lift up. Good. Exhale, fold, bend at the hips, keep the legs strong, folding any amount. Okay, inhale, lift up halfway. We can press the hands against the shins. Exhale, plant the hands, step yourself back, and we're gonna find plank and stay here for a moment. Okay, so just activating the shoulders, pushing away from the spine. Move the heels back in space, strongly tucking the pelvis, so we're not letting it back bend. We want to keep it tucked. Okay, and from here we're going to drop onto the knees, bring the shoulders over the wrists, past the wrists, then we're going to slowly lower down into our chaturanga. Try to keep the shoulders in line with the elbows, and then we can go all the way down to the ground and lift up into cobra. So for our first vinyasa, we're going to take it slow. Okay, so feel a stretch through the belly here. Exhale, go through kind of a child's pose, and then up into a down dog. We'll spend 3 breaths here. 1, 2, good, and 3. Inhale. Exhale, you can hollow out the belly, soften the knees, come up onto the toes, and you can do a hop forward, or you can just step to meet the hands. Let's take it easy. It's our first one. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold it in. Any amount is good. Let the spine hang long. Inhale, press through the heels, come all the way up. Samasthiti. We're going straight away into a B. So sit back into your Utkatasana. Bury the toes into the mat. Tuck the tailbone. Try to find some engagement in the lower belly. Lift the chest. Exhale. Fold all the way down. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, plant the hands, step back, step back in the plank. And like, we're in a plank here. Usually we would move straight through chaturanga, but we're not going to do that today. We're going to hover here for a moment and try to get this activation in our shoulders, pushing the spine away from the shoulder blades. Then we can pop onto the knees, shift the weight forward past the hands, eyes of the elbows move forward, bring the body all the way to the floor. Inhale, peel the upper body off the mat, keep the toes buried. Exhale, find the tips of the toes, okay? And then we can bend through the knees, send the butt back up into down dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Sweep it forward. We're gonna try and hover here. So you wanna try and keep your knee in towards your nose as long as you can, and then slowly land the right leg. Use the left leg coming up on a 45-degree bend. You're gonna use your left leg to lift your body up. Warrior one, exhale, not for very long. We're gonna take ourselves back through plank. And here you can add your actual chaturanga, or let's stay in modified. If you're doing a chaturanga, you hover here all the way to the end of the exhalation. It really does help if you're not speaking. Exhale, back into down dog. Inhale, left leg lifts up. And sweep it forward using that same super long inhalation. Let's hover here. Land the left leg as softly as you can. It's okay if it's not that quiet. You're going to take your back leg into a 45-degree bend and use the back leg to lift the body up. Both hip points work forward. Good. Exhale, we're not there for very long. Move through your variation of chaturanga. Remember, we have a lot of vinyasas, inhale, up dog, to go. Exhale, down dog. So if at the beginning you burn yourself out, you won't have a lot of gas at the end. So maybe take the modifications before we get into it, all right? Good. And 3, exhale completely. Travel all the way to the end of the exhalation. Inhale, bend the knees, hop yourself forward. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Let the spine be long. Inhale, squeeze the legs together, Utkatasana. Exhale, Samasthiti. All right, going into Sun C, inhale yourself back into Utkatasana. We'll stay here for 3 breaths. I'm already getting winded. 1, 2. So try to bury the heels and the toes equally into the floor. And 3, keep the legs exactly where they are. We're going to interlace the fingers, send the palms away from you. This feels nice. Spend a moment here. Exhale, try to bring the belly button parallel to the floor. 1, 2, and 3. Exhale the arms down. We're going to set up for crow. It's early on for an arm balance. If you're not ready for crow at this point, you're going to heel toe the feet out, sit back into Malasana. If your hips aren't ready for Malasana, take a block, slide it under your butt. Just a little bit of support. So if you're taking this variation, what I recommend you do is instead of sitting on the block and taking a break, though that is nice, you're going to try and hover off the block. Like, you know it's there to help you, but you don't need to use it. We're going to try to stay active in the hips by floating off the block. Good. For my friends who want to fly, taking Bakasana, place the hands down, and you're going to try and get your knees as high on the arms as possible. So maybe they're just above the elbows, maybe they're in the armpits. Inhale yourself forward and you hover here. You don't have to lift the feet up at this point if you don't want to. You can just practice kind of getting into the shape of crow, transferring the weight onto the hands. To come out, you can go through Malasana, or you can shoot the legs behind you. Landing in some kind of chaturanga shape, inhale yourself into an up dog, and exhale yourself, down dog. All right, inhale, we're going back into warrior one. So lift the right leg up, sweep it forward. Find the left leg lift. Take a minute to squeeze the hips together. Find that balance in the bottom half of the body before we move into the upper part of the body. Inhale. Good. Exhale. Opening up to warrior two. Okay, so your back leg is now parallel to the back of the mat. Find the deep bend in the front knee. Open the arms. Chest opens behind me. Chest opens to the left. 1. Try to keep the heart stacked over the hips so we're not too far forward. 2. And 3. Good. So we're going to straighten our right leg. This is a bit of a tricky maneuver going from Virabhadrasana 2 to Trikonasana. It's no joke. You're going to take your block. Even if you can do Trikonasana without a block, for this one I'd like us to use a block, okay? So your back leg is going to move back into a 45-degree angle. Lift yourself up onto the toes. Send the femur back into the hips. Boom. Okay, so send this leg bone back here. Land on the heel. And then you're going to kind of bend into the front leg, keeping a lot of weight in the back leg. Try to find your torso parallel to the floor. Place your hand, especially your palm, the base of your palm on the block, and we can unroll the arm, opening up into Trikonasana for 1. 2. Good, keep the tailbone tucked. And 3. Good, inhale, sweep the arms, come onto the backs of the toes, backs of the tops of the toes, backs of the toes. You're gonna come up onto the toes, my bad. Straighten both legs. And then lower that left leg down for our pyramid kind of shape here. So we want both our hip bones forward. And sometimes if you are in a narrow stance, getting both the hip bones forward isn't that easy. So you can take a wider stance and maneuver this way, right? So give yourself the space you need. Both sets of toes are pointing forward for this one. Inhale, lower the torso halfway down. Now you can reach your left hand to the block inside the foot, or you can take it to the outside. If you take it to the outside and your hip kind of fishtails in space, draw the hips together, all right? So the arms don't move until the legs are stable. So squeeze the hips, lift up. 1. You can take the hand just behind the back if lifting it doesn't work for you today. 2. And 3. Good. Inhale, come up into a high lunge, opening up into warrior 2. Deep bend in the front leg, we're going into Parsvottanasana. So you have many options here with the arms. You can put the arm on the inside of your leg on a block, you can put the arm bent on the leg, or you can put it on the outside if you want more of a challenge. Whichever one you choose, keep your leg glued to the arm and the arm glued to the leg. We can lift the arm directly ahead of us, or you can bring it overhead, feeling a stretch again through the intercostals. Remember the hips. So don't let the hips fly away from you. Keep them really centered and breathe for 1. 2. Strong legs, pull them together. And 3, inhale, come up, find your high lunge. You can keep the back leg bent, that is okay. We're gonna lower it all the way to the floor and bring our hands to prayer. Left elbow on the outside of the right leg for a modified Parivrtta Parsvottanasana. Now here is a great place to be. We're just working on our twist. We're opening up the back. That's really nice. If you feel like you need a little bit of energy in the body, you can try and straighten the back leg without moving the hips. So we're not going to lift the hips and straighten the back leg. We're going to keep the hips stable. We're going to just straighten at the back knee for 1 and 2. Nice. And 3, take the hands, frame the leg, try not to collapse, send it back, and do your chaturanga, okay? What's your chaturanga like today? I always am a fan, if you're building that upper arm strength, always take the modified because it's a great option to build the tricep strength. So bring the shoulders over the wrists, hover in this space here, this is where the strength is. Inhale, up dog or cobra, and exhale, down dog. Okay, so this one we're going into Pincha Mayurasana. So everyone's Pincha practice is very different. For this class today, I want us to not go into Pincha if we do not have the strength in the shoulders to go up without kicking. So if you're one, like guilty, if you're kicking into Pincha to get up, but you can't lift yourself up without kicking, today for this class, we're gonna skip the kicking, okay? So we're gonna start in a dolphin. And I'm gonna have a block here, and there's lots of different hand variations that you can take. Like I can discuss some of them right now. So we have this hand variation, the L shape, right? And this is like a great place to use your block. We also have this, I call this knife hands, okay, that's a good one. We can also do the volleyball hands, this one, or you can do a bound, okay, where we tuck the pinky like a bound headstand, but for pincha. So you can choose whichever one. If you always do one variation, maybe today is the chance to try something else and see how it feels. So I'm gonna use my block. That's one of my favorite ones. It teaches you at least the Ashtanga hand position, but it's a little bit of support, okay? So we're gonna start with our hands down, and we're simply gonna lift the butt up in space. Okay, what we're trying to do in dolphin is a few things. One, we kind of want to walk the butt over the head, but we don't want our shoulder heads to come too far down. And we don't want to turn this into a headstand, right? Which it feels like it's going to become at the beginning. So the main thing here is if you're in this position, your main job is to just resist the floor as best you can. So you should feel your shoulder blades pushing away from your spine. And that's your main thing. Let's push this whole thing up, and then the legs can walk in. That's 5 breaths. Inhale, maybe we can sweep a leg up and play with this balance. So instead of kicking, you would use your top leg to pull the bottom leg up. Good, that's 7 breaths. Inhale, other side. And lower down. Good. If you're raised up into your pincha, please come down. You can come down through chaturanga or go back into a down dog. If you're in dolphin, we're going to lift up into a down dog, shift the weight forward, chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. Okay, so if we're feeling like we didn't have enough time to play in that pincha, don't worry, it's coming again for round 2. So inhale, you're going to come forward on your mat, landing in Utkatasana. So straight from down dog, coming into a halfway lift, fold in, and inhale for your chair pose. Okay, dropping the tailbone, and then Samastitihi. All right, one more round. Try it all again on the other side. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, Ardha Utkatasana. Find the hand movement, palms away from you, and then find the belly parallel to the mat. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to bring the hands down towards the mat, bring the knees to the backs of the arms, Bakasana. Again, Malasana, great option here. If you feel like flying today, inhale yourself forward. And again, like I said, you can stay here. This is a great place to practice your crow. Just pressing the knees into the arms, arms into the knees. Maybe one leg lifts, maybe both. Depends on the day. Use the fingers, and then we come down. Okay, from here, we can step back into our plank position. Exhale to the ground, or move through your chaturanga. Inhale through your cobra, or your up dog, strong legs either way. Exhale it, down dog. Good. Inhale, left leg steps forward. We're lifting up into Virabhadrasana 1. Back leg is 45 degrees, or trying to be. And we want both our hip bones to try to be facing forward, okay? We find a deep bend in the front leg. If this feels impossible, both legs are kind of like not doing what you want, try to give yourself more space between the feet so they are on 2 different lines, right? They don't have to be on the same line. Really depends on your hips. Inhale up. And exhale, we open up into Warrior 2. So something I see happen, and I do it myself in Warrior 2. We go from Warrior 1 to Warrior 2. We come out of this leg a little bit, okay? It's normal. It's a nice escape. So as you come into Warrior 2, find that bend again. Okay, so from your Warrior 2, this is the tricky part. So you're gonna try and be really strong through this back leg, come up onto the toes of the left leg, send it back into the hips. You might have to hop this leg a little bit closer. We want this back leg, again, 45, pressing the weight into the whole foot, not just the outer edge, all 4 corners of the foot. Inhale from here, we can bring the arms overhead if we need to really exaggerate the weight in the legs, and you can have your block handy on the inside of your left foot. From here, we're gonna unroll the arms. So take your right arm all the way along your left, Trikonasana on the left side. Both legs are active. Think of the hips pulling in together. 1, 2, and 3. Inhale, look down and come up. Coming up onto the back toes. Okay, so both my legs are straight. Then I'm gonna find my pyramid posture. So again, back leg 45, both hip bones roll forward. Both legs are straight. If this is hard, then maybe your feet don't need to be like this, right? Maybe your feet are like this, okay? So we give ourselves space for both hip bones to come forward. And then we find our pyramid shape, belly button down towards the floor. Reach for the inside of the left leg, or maybe we can do the outside. You might find that one side is different from the other. Inhale, unroll and lift up. If this is a lot for the shoulders, for the neck, you can take your left hand behind you. Keep pressing into your block so we're not collapsing into the shoulder. 1, look behind the left shoulder. 2, and 3. Inhale, come up, find a low lunge. Open up, warrior 2. Exhale, Parsvottanasana. So now we're in a longer stance. Again, back foot, trying to be 45. We're gonna do our best. Exhale, find this 90-degree bend in the leg. Okay, try to make sure that your knee isn't falling in space or out. We're kind of tracking along the toes here. Now there's so many arm variations we can take here depending on how we're feeling today. Left arm on the inside of the leg, left arm on the leg, or deep hip flexion. We're going to take our left arm on the outside of the leg. So whatever variation you're in, your leg does not leave your hand. There's contact here. So make contact with the leg, unroll the arms, and we stay here for 1 and 2 and 3. Good. Inhale, low lunge. You can be soft in the back knee. Exhale, lower the back knee down. This is the fun one. Modified Parivrtta Parsvottanasana. Take the hands into prayer. Right elbow over the left leg. And then we can stay here. Squeeze the hips together. If you feel like you need more fire, you're going to just straighten the back leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down. Take the left leg back. Find your variation of chaturanga in this moment. What is possible right now? Doesn't mean it's going to be possible the next time. Exhale, down dog. Setting up for Pincha Mayurasana. So I explained the arm movements before. I'm just cleaning some hair off my neck. I explained the arm movements before. So what you're going to do is choose your arm variation. Maybe you want to try a different one. I'm going to do the block again, and I'm not doing Pincha today. I don't feel like I have the shoulder stability today to support it. So I'm going to take my dolphin variation with my block. Find the forearms on the ground. Now work the eyes of the elbows will be forward because your forearms are bent, but I want that same sensation when you're in down dog or in your chaturanga and you're turning the eyes of the elbows forward. You're kind of working the shoulder girdle a little bit, activating that. So the shoulders don't hunch here, they move away from the head. And I really feel like in dolphin, that's kind of the main challenge. There's a lot happening in dolphin. Hamstrings, abdominals, there's so much working. But I really want your main focus to be pushing the shoulders away from the head, away from the floor, away from the ears, okay? So let's go up, we're gonna go for 10 breaths. Inhale up. Good, so work away from the floor. Focusing on your breathing, deep breaths. If you really want to escape the posture, try to breathe into that space of discomfort. So discomfort is different from pain. If you feel pain, you come down. Discomfort we can work with.
Good, that's 5 breaths. We can try maybe inhaling one leg coming up. Maybe we lift onto the toes of the left leg. And then we do the other side. When you come up with your leg, try and engage that glute. And 5. We're going to bring it down.
There's time here for child's pose. Exhale, 1
and 2.
Good, let's find a down dog. Inhale forward, chaturanga. Upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. So whether your heels are on the ground or not, we're going to be swooping back. So it doesn't matter if your heels are touching the ground, but I want you to have a lot of weight in them. We can slightly bend the knees and then push the weight back, straighten the legs. From here, you walk the hands in, make your down dog a little shorter. Find a bend in the elbows. We can do these down dog push-ups. Try shifting the weight into the back body and then shift all the way back. Maybe drag the arms, finding ourselves in forward fold. Inhale, Padangusthasana, so lengthen the spine, scoop the toes with the first 2 fingers and thumb. Lift the thumb off the mat. As you pull the toes away with the hands, push the hands with the toes. Exhale, fold in. Maybe we bend the elbows, roll the shoulders away from the head. We stay here for 1. Drawing the breath. This is a great posture for drawing the breath into the back body. 2 and 3. Now the fun one. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, scoop the hands under the feet, make contact, toes against wrists. Inhale, find that length in the spine again. Exhale, fold down. Try to be really strong through all 4 corners of the feet. We don't need to lift the heels here. Ground them down. 1. Active legs. 2 and 3. Good. Inhale, come up halfway so you don't come up and like get dizzy. Exhale. Inhale, use your glutes and hamstrings. Pull yourself up. Coming to the top of your mat. So how do we get back to the front? We're going to come up onto the tiptoes. And like this is tough, okay? So if you're like wobbling at this point, that's okay. Try bringing the feet together so you can use that squeezing of the legs to help you. And we're going to walk on our tiptoes to the front of our mat. Take your hands where you need them. Maybe it's the hips, maybe it's prayer. Maybe you bring your hands up above you. Okay, you're going to inhale and walk on your tippy toes forward. Okay, really nice, slow. Good. All right, we're here, lower down. Samasthiti. Inhale, take a big wide step. For our wide-legged forward folds, Prasarita Padottanasana. Inhale, T the arms, the Ashtanga star, I like to call it. Exhale, hands on the waist. Now, try to activate your inner thighs. So sometimes I come into like a little goddess. Okay, get the inner thighs working. Your toes are pointing forward. To come to goddess, you kind of have to come into a 45-degree angle with the feet. But I just like to do this to activate the inner thigh. Toes point forward, come halfway. Good, you can bring the hands out in front of you here. Activate the back. Exhale, place the hands down. If you can't reach the floor, then you reach a block. Your hands are on something. And you're gonna exhale, eyes of the elbows forward. Squish the head between the hands. 1, 2, 3. Good. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, star the arms. Take them to the waist. Inhale, rise up. So we're rising the chest out of the hips. And activate the abdominals. Use the abdominals to squeeze the upper body through the legs. Maybe the head touches the ground. Maybe not. 2 and 3. Good. Inhale, come up all the way. Exhale. All right, our third one, we're gonna choose, we're gonna go into a bound headstand, okay? So you can usually do tripod. I'm personally not a fan of tripod practicing or teaching it It's a little bit sketchy for the neck for me, so I avoid that posture personally. But I'm a big fan of bound headstand. Brings a little bit more safety with it. So if this is in your practice, you're gonna inhale wide arms, sorry. The legs are already wide. Exhale, fold down. So how do you know if you can go into a headstand from a wide-legged forward fold? Well, first your head needs to touch the ground. And so first, that's your work. If you're not there yet, then you keep working on that. If you can get on the ground, you're gonna bind your hands as if you're going into a bound headstand. Then from here, you would just practice transferring your weight onto your hands. If that's accessible, that's great. If you can get your head down, that's cool too. We can do that. So we're in a bound headstand shape, pressing the weight into our forearms. Maybe the legs float, maybe not. And we'll stay here for 3, 2, 1. Work from where you are. So I'm going to inhale my legs coming into a split. I'm going to try to get back into my wide-legged forward fold as softly as I can. Activating the lower abs. Inhale, halfway lift. Love my voice in that posture. And exhale, fold, relax the spine. Good. Let's come all the way up and back to the top of the mat for Samasthiti. Good. One more time, wide-legged forward fold. We're going to be doing some work with the splits. So you might need multiple blocks or a foam roller I like to use, bolsters, pillows. You might need a whole tower. You know your body. You know how your body responds to the splits. So we're going to start here with a middle split. So coming down here, you can relax the body to the floor as gracefully as you can. My feet are turned up. I'm externally rotating the thighs. They're trying to move back behind me. How engaged should your legs be in this posture? Well, you want to actually pull the toes in so much that maybe the heels come off the ground. Something to try. That's kind of the level of engagement you want in the legs. And as you come forward, you don't let your feet come forward with you. Your feet move behind you and your body moves forward in space. If you're in an L shape, that is okay. You're still doing the work. You're just doing it from a higher place, okay? Doesn't make a huge difference. I like to say that in forward folds, the only thing that changes as you progress is the view, okay? So it's not a big deal if you're up looking down or you're down looking forward. Stay here for 1, 2, 3. We're gonna do 5 breaths. And 4, and 5. Good. From here, we're meant to go straight into Hanumanasana, pretty ruthless. So we're going to have to find an external rotation with the right leg and an internal rotation with the left leg. Have your blocks ready. So inhale, come forward. We can bend this leg, like however you need to maneuver your body to get forward, do that. Okay, this is a kind of a big transition just to go from middle split to splits. So I'm going to go ahead and put a block right under my leading leg, okay, and keep working on that internal rotation. Okay, right, so we're in an anterior tilt probably, but we're trying to bring our tailbone down. Maybe we lift the arms up. 1, 2. Another option for the arms, bring them to the side and lift the weight a little bit off. Help yourself out. 3, okay, let's go to the other side. Inhale. Bend the legs. I'm not going to do this gracefully. I don't have a magical transition for you, sorry. To get from middle splits to splits, both sides, it's a lot, okay? So finding a deep breath, we're going to spend another 5 breaths here. If one block doesn't cut it, that's okay. You can use 2, you can use a pillow and a block. Let's go for 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Maybe add a back bend. If you want to make sure that you're really activating that back leg, you could place your hands on the hamstring and like push into it. That's really nice. Okay, let's come back into our lovely middle split, which should feel just a little bit easier now. I do have a nice surprise for you. So staying in your middle split, if your legs are all the way out in one line, you can go ahead and bring them more into a little V shape. and we're gonna go into our little gate pose variation. So I'm gonna grab my right toe, let that arm bend, okay? So when we do this, we don't want, it's like Trikonasana. We don't want the chest to come forward. We wanna stay open. So take your left hand behind your head and move your upper body down, okay? Right arm comes inside the right leg. So if we reach for the foot and that brings us into this shape, it's a deep stretch, but it's going a lot into the QL, and I'm more concerned with opening this part of the body. So let's look up at the elbow. And 3, exhale. That should feel really nice after those splits. Okay, we'll take our left thumb, bring the elbow down, bring the arm behind the head, look up. We're activating the upper back thoracic spine. 2. And 3, good, exhale. So digging both heels into the ground, come back up. And we can bring the legs a little bit closer together for our Mula Bandha checks. Okay, so take a minute to prepare. Okay, you're gonna take one hand to the inside, one hand to the outside of the leg. Let me just turn on an angle. So here, what we were looking for in terms of upper body is this chaturanga arm shape, right? So we're looking for, if you have a camera or something, it's really handy to see what your upper body is doing. Actually, don't do that. Keep the shoulder back, okay? So we're gonna try and lift one leg. 1, 2, and 3. Do the other side. That was a very quick, that wasn't 3 breaths, that was more like 3 seconds. But what are you gonna do? So legs are kind of on the mid-thigh area. 1, 2, and 3. So fun, it's so fun. Okay, so you're gonna find a chaturanga here shape. Try to lift the hips. 1, 2, and 3. Other side. Whew. 1, 2, and 3. Lower it back down. So what happens there is as we go through that and your butt feels like 1,000,000 pounds, the strength in the lower abdominals is what makes you feel lighter in inversions. It's what makes you feel like you can lift your butt off the ground and jump back. It's this contraction here. So as you get stronger in that area and work through those postures, you will see a difference, okay? From here, we're gonna cross the legs, turn ourselves to the front of the mat, step back for chaturanga with a really open pair of hips now, okay? So come down, inhale, up dog, exhale, down dog. Okay, from here you can hop, step, or walk. Find yourself at the front of the mat. Okay, halfway lift, exhale, fold in. Inhale all the way up, find yourself in Samasthiti. If you have a wall next to you like I do, you might want to give yourself a little bit of space. We're going to be opening up the legs, Uttita Hasta Padangustasana. So first we're going to find some trust in our standing leg. This is a time for your strap to be handy as well. So you're going to first find your standing leg. In any standing balancing posture, you really need to trust your standing leg as if it's a concrete post. And you can move all over the place, but your standing leg is never going to give out. If you focus on the leg in the air, which is not stable, then you're probably going to fall. So focus on the standing leg. We're going to inhale. Try to keep the leg straight for as long as you can. Use the strength for active flexibility to lift up. Then maybe grab for the toe. So there's options here. We can keep the leg bent. We can grab the knee. Or maybe on a good day we can straighten and drop the hip. The right hip straight in the left leg. 1, 2, hand on hip. Activate the abs. 3, and 4, and 5. Good. Open up to the right side. Look to the left side. Drop that right hip. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Inhale, hover. We're going to hold the leg here for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We're going to go straight to the other side. So now your right leg is your standing leg. Trust the standing leg. We're going to use our active flexibility to lift the left leg up. Maybe we reach the toe, maybe we reach the knee. If you're straightening your leg, I want this right leg straight as well. Actually, I actually care more about the right leg being straight than the left one. So I'd rather see this than this, okay? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. Open the leg up to the left side, look to the right side. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, now the part that everyone loves, so we keep both legs straight, hover, hands on hips. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5. Good, all right, let's rinse that out with a vinyasa. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, fold. Okay, we're gonna settle here. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. I'm just doing a little reset between postures. Lift all the way up, back to Samasthiti for Ardha, Vata, Hatha, Paschimottanasana. So half lotus, fold, forward fold. So half lotus. Lotus is not the most accessible posture. If you're someone who can't get your hips into lotus, then you would do a figure 4 in this posture, and it would still do the same thing, okay? So we're gonna pick your lotus or figure 4. Right hand goes behind the back, so you can either do the right hand just behind the back. If you're in a lotus, you wanna try and grab your toe from the top and not the bottom. So if you already have the toe, grab it from the top. It's an extra challenge. You're gonna lower yourself to the ground, so your hand is either in front of you, maybe about a foot in front of you, or you can put it next to the foot, and we'll breathe for 1. Let the spine relax. 2, and 3. Inhale halfway, exhale completely. Inhale, bend that left knee, ever so slightly, come all the way up. And exhale, we'll do the other side. So it's natural for hips to be very different in their mobility. If you find lotus very accessible on one side and more difficult on the other, that's okay. Play to your weaker side, right? The side that needs more support, give it more support. So maybe we have to take figure 4 on one side, and that's okay, a bit wobbly. Come into your half lotus or your figure 4. Before you go down, try for the bind, so you're either binding the toe or you're just placing the hand behind your back. It's really good also. It's the same work. So inhale, right hand on the ground, chest comes forward, or maybe you take the hand next to your foot, feeling crazy. You can relax the back, relax the neck, bring the face towards the shin. 1, and 2, and 3. Exhale completely. Inhale halfway. Look forward, exhale completely. Bend the knee, lift yourself up. Good. Samasthiti. And good news, we're going to the floor. Inhale, lift up. Good. Exhale, fold. Strong legs. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, plant the hands, chaturanga or modified, okay? What are you gonna do? What do you have energy for? Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. All right, we're gonna hop ourselves to a seated position. All right, so we're gonna try and do it as slowly as possible. If you want to crawl yourself to a shorter down dog, you can do a couple bunny hops where you hop up in space. Try to get a little hover if it's possible today. And then we're gonna hop ourselves to a seated position. So we can hop the knees together and we can just sit back until we're in a cross-legged. Take the knees out in front of you. Okay, and we're gonna start in Dandasana. Dandasana is great because it looks like you're just sitting here, right? So relaxed, but it's a lot of work, this posture. So you're pulling the toes in towards your belly button, roll the shoulders up, back, down, press the hands, which are next to the hips, into the ground. Let the chest rise, tuck the chin. So it's like a super active sitting position. 1, 2, and 3. Good. Inhale, look forward. And why don't we do forward folds, like intense forward folds like Paschimottanasana? We don't think of down, okay? Try not to think down. Try not to think of reaching the ground. I promise nothing happens when you get there. Think of forward, 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 okay? So you can use your strap. If you can grab the toes and you want to hunch, okay? This is like a natural inclination. I want you to try and not do that. I want you to try and bring the chest forward and the shoulders back, okay? So this is where the work is for this one. Inhale, exhale. We'll stay for 2 more breaths. Inhale, exhale. 1 more. Inhale and exhale. You can relax the upper body for a moment here. In this sequence, I do kind of see the forward folds as a little escape. They can be very peaceful. Okay, we're gonna inhale ourselves up, so legs come in towards the chest. So for the sake of this class, there's a lot of vinyasas, okay? And traditionally in Ashtanga and Rocket, you take a vinyasa, not always between each leg, but at least between each posture. So I'm gonna give you an option for a vinyasa. If you don't wanna do the jumping back, stepping back, up dog, down dog, you sit here and you bring your knees into your chest as best you can, hands out, and you pump the knees into the chest, okay? This is your vinyasa prep, okay? You push the hands as if you're pushing into something, and we can work from there, okay? So this is my example of our vinyasa. We're gonna land feet straight again, Purvottanasana. I'm gonna take my fingertips towards my butt. And I'm gonna give you a fun way to get in. Instead of going straight into Purvottanasana, so intense for the shoulders, very intense for the hamstrings, great work for the hamstrings though, especially after a forward fold. You're gonna go into reverse tabletop first, okay? So inhale, knees over ankles, and like I'm looking at myself here, but we end up here a lot, and the work is to get here. You gotta do a really strong posterior tilt. It's not easy, but we're activating the lower abdominals and under butt combo that is so useful in our yoga practice. And here we're gonna straighten the legs for Purvottanasana, or you stay in reverse table. And we count here for 1. Keep pressing the hips up, toes together, toes on the floor. 2 and 3. Lower down slowly. Let's do a vinyasa together. So bring the knees in so you can shift forward, hands come on the ground. This is one of my favorite, like easier vinyasas. We just throw ourselves forward and we step ourselves back. Come down all the way to the floor. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. All right, we're going into the forward fold. So you're gonna inhale, hop yourself to a seated position, either on the knees or landing in a little cross leg. Take the legs out in front of you for Janusirsasana 8. So here we're going to lift our right leg. I'm trying to actively externally rotate my leg without using my hand. We can take our leg cradled into our hands here, and then we want to place the foot next to the left leg. Press into the left leg with the foot, press into the foot with the leg, and then both hip points go forward and we go forward, okay? Not down, forward. So inhale yourself, chest in front of the shoulders, right? So instead of this, this. 1, 2, maybe we bind the foot, maybe. And 3, exhale, let yourself kind of fall to the floor. Inhale up, and we're gonna go straight to the other leg. This is one of my favorite things to do actually in the Ashtanga series, is just do the forward folds, one after another, without the vinyasas. It's a very therapeutic. So pressing the foot into the leg, leg into the foot, again we come forward, right? And if you need a strap, there's no shame in that. Inhale, chest forward, and exhale, keep the chest forward as you lower down. As soon as you reach this hunching point, that means you've gone a little bit far for today's assignment, so come forward. And then for the last few breaths, maybe we release the body down. Beautiful. Inhale, come up. Find your crossed leg position, knees in. Use your feet, send the weight into the hands, step back. Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog, okay? Maybe modified chaturanga is better if it's getting a little bit collapsy, if you're getting a little bit tired. Exhale, the hips back. Inhale, hop. Okay, we're gonna find ourselves again with our legs in front of us. Today we're gonna be doing just Marichyasana A and C. The challenge in Marichyasana A is try to get yourself into the shape without using your hands to crank the leg back. So inhale, lift up, send the right leg back. Try to contact, you don't have to contact, but you're trying to contact your knee with your shoulder. Place the leg down, shift the body forward. Straps are great with Marichyasana A. So again, chest forward, and look, see there's no hunching. There's just a rising up. 1, 2, 3, maybe we can bind. So if you can grab the left toe, that's not always, because it depends on how long your arms are, right? It's an indication that maybe you're ready to bind. Maybe you can bring this arm back, internally rotating it. Maybe we reach behind with the left arm and make contact. And then this is a nice place to be because you can squeeze that bent leg in and then you rise even more. 1, 2, and 3. From here we're gonna go straight to C. Inhale up. We're gonna raise the arms up, and actually if you have a strap, here's a great trick for you. We're gonna take our hands shoulder width apart, and I'm gonna turn my chest towards my bent knee, and something's gonna happen here. This knee's gonna try to open. You're gonna try and keep it in, so outer hip engagement. Good, and then from here we can grab the leg. Okay, and this is great, or maybe we bind. Okay, so same principle, internal rotation in the left arm, send the right arm back, clasp whatever, fingers, wrists, and try and get that rise, like you're trying to rise up from the floor. 1, 2, breathing, and 3. Good. Inhale. Let's move through a vinyasa. Bring the knees in, onto the hands. Take modified if you need. Hover, exhale, inhale. So that's the trick. Try to hover all the way to the end of your exhalation in chaturanga. Exhale, down dog. Nice strong legs. Inhale, hop yourself forward. We're going to do the other side, Marichyasana A, left side. So try to bring your leg there without using your hands. It's not supposed to be easy. If it's hard, that's okay. You might have to use your hands. Okay, this is a great time to use the strap. Keep the leg glued to the shoulder, to the arm. Inhale, rise up. Another thing I'm going to tell you in Marichyasana A, if you're finding it really hard and your leg is here and your knee is here, try to keep your foot right below. Like, try to keep this shin bone straight. It's going to help you in stability a lot. It's okay to take a wider stance. Inhale, 1, 2, and 3. Maybe we bind. It's not necessary. Okay, you take the internal rotation with the left hand, take the right hand, and as you grab the bind, you're going to use the leg push, rise up. 1, 2, and 3, and now we get to go into the twist. So 2 modifications for the twist. You're either lifting up and grabbing the leg, using that to turn, or maybe we bind. Okay, so inhale, take the twist of your choice. These postures are harder to breathe in, and they're meant to be harder to breathe in. Your challenge here is to find deep breaths despite the restrictions. 1, 2, active right leg, and 3. Good. Inhale, unwind yourself carefully. Pull the legs in. Okay, we're going to hold the knees in for 1, 2, and 3. Inhale. Let's go for Navasana. So, Navasana, we have options. Like everything else in yoga, we have lots of options. Navasana, shin bones parallel to the mat. This is a great Navasana. If you're down on your tailbone, then maybe bring it forward a little bit. We want it to be like a little bit more forward. 1, and 2, and 3. Now see if you can straighten one leg. 1, 2, 3. Come back down. I'm shifting onto my tailbone, I can see that. So come forward. I'm showing you what not to do. 1 and 2 and 3. We're gonna bring the feet together, tap, just the legs move down, tap, bring it back up. We're gonna do it one more time, tap, slowly. Okay, and then maybe our hamstrings will allow us to do straight legs today. So if you're rolling so much like I was, sometimes you gotta reset and come back. Inhale, straight legs. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold it, send it forward, our modified vinyasa. Take your chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog, and then jump yourself into a seated position. Right away, feet come together. This should feel great. Baddha Konasana. Press the feet together. Open your feet like a book. And then fold forward. So maybe not hunch, right? So again, that same principle with forward folds. We don't move down. We don't try to get to the ground. You might reach the ground eventually, but you generally don't reach the ground trying to get to the ground. You reach the ground trying to get forward, finding length in the spine first. Inhale forward. Try to keep the spine as straight as possible. And then as you get closer to the floor, maybe we round. We'll stay here for 5, 4, and 3, 2, and 1. Good. Inhale, come all the way up. Exhale, bring the knees in. Send it back. We're exhaling through chaturanga, so take a breath here if you need it. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, hop. Okay, now we're getting into the fun stuff. Upavista Konasana. So this one, and Ubaya Panagustasana. These are postures that are, okay, they're serious because you have to be careful, right? We're rolling around on the spine, we're rolling around on the neck, but these are fun. This is the levity of Rocket and Ashtanga Yoga. There is levity in every series. There's postures that I think they put in just so you don't take yourself so seriously, and these are them. So we're gonna start down in our wide-legged forward fold. And it's not a pancake, it's more of a V shape. We're gonna grab the toes and send ourselves forward, right? So you can either put the chin on the floor, that's really good for activating the back of the neck, or you can put the forehead down. We're gonna stay here for 1, 2, and 3. Okay, this is the fun part. It's also the hard part. Okay, you're gonna inhale, lift the feet up, straighten the legs, and do the same shape here. And when you're in this shape, I want you to think of Ustrasana, camel pose. So you're lifting the chest up, maybe open the neck. 1, if this doesn't feel good on your neck, by the way, keep it up, keep it tucked. Don't do this if it puts an unfair amount of weight on the neck. 2, and 3. Good. We're gonna vinyasa. Step back, chaturanga, hover. Inhale, up dog, hover. Exhale, down dog. Inhale, hop forward. And if you need me to demo this first, you might want to watch this first before you try it. Now I'm limited for space, so if this is you, please take the second to clear the space because you're gonna knock things and hurt yourself. Since COVID, I've been doing this in my apartment and I have definitely hurt myself a few times. So first thing we're gonna do is reverse the Upavista Konasana. So it's on our back, just like Halasana with wide legs. We're gonna hook the toes. The most important thing here is that we activate the calves. Calves are active. Roll yourself up and land. Right, so the point here, we can try it again. The point here is to land quietly. And the only way to land quietly is to keep the legs engaged and straight, right? So if you can't straighten the legs in this posture, you're gonna have some limitations with the landing, and that's okay. Land with your legs bent. If you can straighten the legs, you have to activate enough that you land on the calves and not the ankles. Okay, let's try it again. Inhale yourself. I need my mat.
for my back. Don't want to roll on my spine on the wooden floor. Inhale yourself back. Halasana. Wide-legged. Grab the toes, activate the hamstrings, push them away from the floor. Inhale up, hover, and land. As softly as you can. All right, and try to enjoy it. Inhale, lift up, and send it back. Chaturanga, up dog, and down dog. Last chance to try a similar posture. Hop yourself to a seated position. Almost as if you're going into Navasana. You're going to grab the toes, keep them together, straighten the legs. Hey, if we can't straighten the legs in the posture, they're bent. That's okay. Try to straighten the arms. We can do here. This is a great place to work from. Keep trying to keep that chest open. If your legs are straight, you want to push the toes out. So try not to let the toes collapse in towards you. Push the toes out. So the difference this makes in the posture is activating the inner thighs. Open up the chest. Maybe if it feels good, relax the head. If it doesn't feel good, keep the chin tucked. 1, 2, and 3. Wobbling is okay. 4, and 5. See if you can grab the ankles or the heels. Maybe bring the face in toward the shins. 1, 2, and 3. Good. Exhale, bend. Let's rinse that out with a vinyasa. Exhale, fold. And of course, we have the more lighthearted postures. Come into your up dog. Exhale, come into your down dog. So inhale, come into a seated position. Right after our lighthearted, fun postures, we have our more challenging postures, the tear-inducing postures, the back bends, okay? So we have Setu Bandhasana going into Urdhva Dhanurasana, followed by Paschimottanasana. So today we're going to do an active leg Setu. Mostly Setu Bandhasana, hip width apart. Today we're not doing that. We're going to do a contortion Setu Bandhasana. We're going to do the feet together. If you can't get your feet together and enter this posture, totally fine. You're going to try and place them as close as you can. The reason I'm trying to get the feet together is we're going to go up into our bridge. Let's try it first with our feet separated. Really good. It opens the hip flexors, this one, okay? But if you bring the feet together, it opens the hip flexors much more strongly. You're also getting a deeper engagement in the lower glutes and the lower abdominals. And we need this relationship with the hamstrings, glutes, and lower abdominals in order to have safe back bends. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. I highly recommend, even if you're like a very proficient backbender, to take a Setu Bandhasana before your back bends. Just really, it's a very calming posture for your nervous system, and I feel like that's a really good place to put yourself before you go into a posture like Urdhva Dhanurasana. So Urdhva Dhanurasana options, if you are in a space in your Urdhva Dhanurasana where it's this, I can't straighten my arms, I can't straighten my legs, you're going to do it against the wall with blocks. So placing your blocks against the wall to give yourself height, working on straightening your arms, right? That's kind of like when you're in a place in Urdhva Dhanurasana where you can't straighten your arms, you can't straighten your legs, and you're frustrated. You're at a moment. There's a moment coming soon where you break through and you straighten your arms. We're just waiting for certain things to strengthen and open, and that's the patience part of the yoga practice, okay? So putting 2 blocks behind you on the wall is going to help give you more space. I don't have 2 blocks today. I can't demo that posture. We're going to go into Urdhva D. Take your hand next to your ears. Take a moment here to find the breath. So we have to use our deep breathing. Press all 4 corners of the feet. I want you to take a moment, find the toes. Inhale, exhale. Inhale all the way up. Push into the legs. This posture is not in the back. It's in the shoulders and the hips. So if you feel it in your back, activate the shoulders, activate the hips, take the pressure off the spine. You can look between the hands or down towards the thumbs, and you can walk in if you have a little bit of space. We'll stay here for 1, 2, and 3. Move the weight into the chest, and 4, and 5. Lower down. Take a beat here. Inhale. Exhale. We have 2 more. Inhale. Go up. So I'm going to leave this to you. You can spend 3 breaths in and come down, or you can spend 5. See how you're feeling today. We still have the finishing postures to go. So inhale, come up. And 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. And 5. If you really want to activate the arms, you would tap the head down. Okay, if not, we're coming straight down. One more Setu Bandha, not a Setu Bandha, sorry. One more, just relax, and then we go up. So if this is a challenging posture for you and it brings up a lot, it's okay to rest a breath or 2 between postures. This is totally fine. We can take extra breaths in this practice. Inhale, hands next to the ears. Here we go, we have one last time, okay? So this is I'm gonna give you an option for the straight leg variation if you'd like. Remember, if you don't feel like doing this, you can take bridge. You can take bridge 5 times. That's totally fine. It's the same work. We're still working in the hips, still working the hamstrings, okay? Inhale, come up, especially if you have shoulder stuff. This is not good for that. 1. You're gonna try and communicate with your toes. Press into the heels, straighten the legs, activate the lower glutes. Think of opening the chest through the arms. 1. And 2. And 3. Good. Come down. Right away on the side of the body. Come up. And we recover. Okay, so we're coming into our Paschimottanasana. It's going to be a very different experience to our previous one, right? It's a very different place in the practice. So it can be interesting to do a posture like this twice in such a practice, okay? 1, 2, we're here for 10 breaths. 3, breathe into the back. So if you're not feeling it in your back, you're feeling it more in your hamstrings, I want you to pull your lower belly in a little bit so that we can feel a stretch in the lower back, okay? 3, 4, 5. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale completely. So remember, in these postures now we're speaking to the nervous system. So there's a little bit less trying and pushing, okay? There's more of a calming down, a tethering. We're tethering to ourselves, okay? We're gonna lift the legs up, find our vinyasa. Okay, modified is great because we just did a back bend. Activating the lower abs is a really good counterbalance to a back bend, which is why we see crow and intermediate series actually. Really good way to activate the lower abdominals. We're going to step back into plank and we're going to hold this here for 5 breaths. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 5. Come all the way down. One last back bend here, so you can press your toes into the floor, peel the upper body off the floor, maybe hover the hands. Okay, 1, 2, 3, send it back through a child's pose. Go through the child's pose to down dog. Inhale, fly that right leg, maybe open the hip. Why not? We're here. Inhale, send it forward, pigeon. So pigeon. Not Agni Stambhasana, not half fire log. I see these postures confused all the time. Pigeon, your leg is in next to your hip, okay? Agni Stambhasana, half fire log, your leg is out here. Very different. This is they're both hard, okay? This is much more demanding on the hip. It's asking a lot more openness in the hip, and it's a little bit easier to escape into the knee as well. So pigeon, we keep the knee closed, okay? Keeping the knee closed is a good idea to help the hips. So we're actually stretching in the hips and not the knees. Send the leg behind you. Try to send it directly behind you. I also like to press my hand against my hamstring, make sure that it's active legs. A good way to test if your pigeon is active is, can you lift yourself up in it, right? We should have the strength in the legs in this posture that we can lift ourselves up. For today, we're not doing that though. Lower down, crawl the hands forward, and we're going into a reclined pigeon, a really nice support. Having the foot here really supports the lower back. So crawl down here for 10 breaths. Let your breath settle. And that's the last breath. We're gonna come up slowly, so use the hands. We're gonna send ourselves back into a down dog. You can lift that right leg if it feels good. Let's lift the left one. Maybe we open the hip if it feels good. Inhale, bring it forward for your pigeon. Okay, so take a moment here. Remember, try to see, are the legs active? Can we float? Okay, if we can't float, if you feel stuck to the ground in this posture, that's also okay. Like, these things take time. The body takes time to open up, to strengthen. Exhale, fold over the leg, 10 breaths here. 1, 2, last breath. Inhale, come up. And exhale, send it back down dog. From here, we're gonna hop ourselves to a seated position. One last time. The next postures that follow, if there's somebody who has difficulties in your cervical spine, neck difficulties, maybe even in the thoracic spine, you have shoulder issues, I'm gonna recommend that we don't do these postures. It's a lot of pressure on the neck, it takes a lot of awareness in the neck, and if you're really tired at the end of practice and you don't feel like you have that awareness to keep yourself safe, it's okay to skip these. I'm going to give you an alternative. So I don't normally teach shoulder stand. From an anatomical perspective, it scares me quite a lot. I did used to practice it, but I don't find it, I personally don't choose to pursue that posture. If it's in your practice, we're going to do shoulder stand. If it's not in your practice, I'm going to give you an alternative. So we're going to start in a bridge posture. And we're going to be lifting the hips up. And we're going to be placing a block underneath the pelvis. You can put it on a mid-height, or you could put it on a high height. So it's under the pelvis. All right, so it's on the back of the pelvis. It's not the lower back. We're lifting the legs up and we're creating traction. So I'm pulling my belly button in towards my face, and this is creating traction in the lower back. If you ever do drop backs, or you did an Urdhva Dhanurasana or Nustrasana, you just took it too far, you went into the lower back, this is a great recovery pose. As we move through the finishing sequence, you can also bring your legs in one at a time, stretching the hip flexor of the opposite leg as you extend. Try to bring it into an external rotation rather than an external, so try to bring it inward. Okay, so we can stay here for a very long time, sort of a variation of shoulder stand or legs up the wall. You can stay here for a few minutes. For those of you who want to come with me on a journey through Halasana and the finishing postures, maybe I always suggest, if you're not used to these postures, you would at least watch them first. So I'll demo them first, and then maybe we can do them. You can do them. Perfect. So starting with Halasana. So Halasana is similar setup to shoulder stand. However, I find it a little bit easier because there's less weight directly on the shoulders. A little bit is going behind you. I also feel like it's an amazing release for the lower back. So I really do, even though I don't practice shoulder stand, I am down with Halasana. So the main thing is that we do not move our neck in any of these postures. Our drishti is the ceiling at all times, or maybe the belly button if you're feeling confident. Personally, I don't love the belly button as a drishti point. We're going to roll down, legs over us, bury the shoulders into the ground. Hands are clasped behind you or flat on the mat. You're looking up towards your knees, feet active, toes on the floor. 1, 2, 3, find your breath. 4, and 5, take the hands to the back of the pelvis, drop the knees somewhere near the head or the ears, Karna Pindasana. 1, and 2, 3, look straight ahead, 4, and 5. Straightening the legs now, coming into a sort of mini shoulder stand. I'm going to cross my legs. You can either cross them or take them into lotus. This is really difficult to get them into lotus upside down, so cross-legged is fine. You can stay here. I like this posture where it is, or you can take your hands to your knees. Today I'm not feeling confident to take my hands to my knees. I'm going to stay here. 1, let the legs drop. 2, 3, and come down. So we're going to slowly lower down, hands on the mat. Coming into Matsyasana. So your legs do not need to be in lotus, they can be crossed. We're going to come up onto the head or stay down like this. So this is great, okay? Or cross legs, they don't have to be lotus. You can go onto the head, let the shoulders drop, grab the toes. 1. This is a throat chakra one, of a Shuddha chakra posture. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Come down onto the elbows. Come down onto the head if you're not there already. And we're going to prop ourselves up into a seated position. Okay, last few postures. So here we're in lotus. If you're in lotus, great. Okay, or a half lotus or something, that's fine. You can also just do a cross-legged position, which is great. If you are in lotus, you're going to take your hands around. We're trying to bind the toes from the top, so not underneath, but the top. Okay, different sensation. You can also just take your hands behind you, and we're going to fold forward from here. Back up, so I'm still in the frame. Okay, and we're going to fold. Try to bring the sit bones to the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. Inhale, come up. So this next posture I like to use as an opportunity to deep breathe. So generally you have your hands on your knees, okay? And we try not to do this back bend. We try to bring it into a neutral spine. But I find this a really good opportunity to practice your really deep breathing. So we bring the chin into the chest, Jaladhara Bandha. Okay, and I'm going to really exaggerate my breathing. Okay, so you're going to inhale, kind of open up, and exhale. Okay, try not to use the hips like I just did. You're trying to use the chest, okay? So let's try. Inhale. 2, inhale. 3. 4. 5. Nice. And 6. And 7. 8. Get the whole body involved. 9. And 10. Beautiful. Last one, Utpluti. So we don't have to go anywhere here. We just have to think about going somewhere. Hands next to the hips. Don't come up onto the thumbs. Apparently that's too easy, so you have to bring the hands down. It's
Squeeze everything you have together. And yes, this is easier if you can do a lotus because your foot is, you know, caught up in your other foot. If you're in a seated position, your foot is hanging down, okay? And that's all right. So we'll work from where we are. If you're in lotus, it is a little bit easier, right? So squeeze the legs together, press the hands down next to the hips, maybe mid-thigh, and we're gonna go up for 5. So 1, 2, look up, 3, and 4, and 5. Okay, we're gonna do one last opportunity to vinyasa. You can take the hands forward, unravel the legs. If this isn't your practice, this can be really fun. So you're gonna take your hands forward, kind of wrap them. If you have female anatomy, biological female anatomy, you're gonna kind of give yourself like a cleavage, okay? And you're gonna come forward onto the palms of the hands, find a bend in the legs, find your abdominals on your elbows, and then we lift the legs up. And we throw it back. That's just something to try. You don't have to do that today if you don't want to. I find that one really fun because it's actually less about arm strength and more about counterbalancing. Alternatively, we unroll the legs, tuck, and walk through our vinyasa. You can come all the way to the floor. Last inhalation in your up dog. Exhale, down dog, and come to a seated position for Shavasana. So take the legs out and unroll yourself. Palms up, head down. And we will stay here for 10 minutes. Or at least 5, okay? You can close the eyes. I like to lift my hair out of the way. You can lift your skull kind of up and out. Okay, you can walk the shoulders out of the body. Palms up and eyes closed here. So as you're in your Shavasana, there's a letting go that happens here throughout the finishing sequence. We let go of the effort and the breath. So we're not doing any sort of breathing. We're just recentering with our bodies. So this is an opportunity to release. And there's no control here. There's no control of the thoughts even. You let the thoughts come, you let the thoughts go. And so at this point we can start to bring a little bit of awareness back into the body, moving, paying attention to your breathing. I like to think of the sounds around me. Let the sounds around you kind of fill the space. You're more than welcome to stay here for at least another 5 minutes. If you are ready to come up, you can join me in a seated position. And if you would like to chant with me, we can close the practice with 3 ohms. We'll inhale, exhale, then we'll inhale for Om. So inhale and exhale. And inhale for Om. We're going to travel through the whole body. So we're going to start with Ah, O in the center, in the throat and mouth. Okay, so inhale. Rub your hands together. We can generate a little bit of heat. It's really hot today, so they're already warm. You place that heat wherever you need it on the body, anywhere along the midline. Okay, we can bow down towards our mats. Any amount is okay. Thank yourself for showing up to your practice today, because that is the hardest part. Thank you for joining me for this rocket class.